Hi, and welcome to Prepping Essentials. Good morning, it's 6 o'clock on Saturday the 16th of October. Just making my way down to the land, and as always, not quite sure what we're going to get done today, but let's find out. Well, here we are down on the land. Subject of change today. And in terms of change, the season is certainly changing. It's a cool morning. I've just been moving a few bits and pieces from the car and putting the heater on in the cabin. Get a little bit warmed up, ready for the cabin chat. It was actually dark when I first came down, so I've just been busying myself while it got light enough to actually do some video. You see the lengths I go to for you guys, eh? Anyway, let me get myself into the cabin. I can knock the diesel heater off. It's been on for the last 10-15 minutes, so it should be nice and warm. It was a bit too cold in there this morning, so I needed a little bit of heat. And of course I needed to get the kettle on for a cup of coffee. So let's get in the cabin and see what all this change business is about. Well, some things don't change. This is probably about the only thing that isn't changing. Just put a little bit of corn out for chickens. I'd actually run out of this mixed corn and seeds, so I called in at the shop on the way to the land this morning. It's the weekend, so they're open early. So let's have a little look inside the coop, see what gifts I've got. Here's another thing that doesn't change. So some lights. The mess. That doesn't change. There shouldn't be that many today. I cleared out on Thursday, so what we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in there. Nothing. So no big surprises. But whether it's 5 or 1, they're all welcome. Right, that's that little job done. Water is going to need topping up. Food's not too bad actually, might wait until tomorrow. But let's get in the cabin and get chatting. Well, good morning, it's the weekend already. And the hat was needed this morning. It was a tad cool this morning when I arrived. It still is actually. It's warmed up nicely in the cabin. I've had the diesel heater on for the last, I don't know, 15 minutes, maybe a bit more than that, and the temperature was about 8 degrees when I arrived, inside that is, and we're now up to a balmy 14 degrees. Anyway, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you are staying safe and well and enjoying your weekend. Times they are a-changing. That was Bob Dylan, I think, wasn't it? But they are. If you thought that 2020 with COVID was a big change, and perhaps you thought it was a temporary change, let's get the tinfoil hat on. It's not a temporary change, ladies and gents. It's a new normal, I think you'll find. Enough of this conspiracy theory. But it is. Things have definitely changed as we've gone through 2021. Instead of returning to how things were, business as usual, they've got even more strange and changed in lots of different ways. And the question really is this the new normal? I suspect it might be. So lots of things going on in the big wide world, things going on in my life. There are changes, and I thought we'd have a little chat about some of those today. First and foremost, I guess, in terms of change, is changes to the channel. I did a little poll or voting session on the community page on YouTube. I'm trying to think when that was. More than a week ago, for sure. So I did a little poll, asked 4 different questions and said, which of these types of content do you find to be most useful to you? And a big thank you for everyone who took the time to register their vote. And I've just jotted them down to make sure I get them correct. So questions were, in terms of what do you find interesting, how about current affairs and the cabin chat? And that got the largest number of votes, which did surprise me. In all honesty, the voting for every of the 4 options did surprise me in one way or another. So biggest majority, 34%, current affairs, cabin chats, ergo what we're doing now. Raising a garden, 9%. That surprised me. I thought, given all of the strangeness in the supply chain that's been going on lately and the quality of lots of the fresh food, fruit and vegetables, that more people might be interested in raising a garden. I do appreciate, though, that not everybody has a garden. People do live in flats, apartments, and actually don't have that outdoor growing space. Here in the UK, quite a few people do, although modern houses, whereas before, going back through the years, you would have a front garden, back garden, and one of them would be used, I'm going back in the day when I was young. No comments. Yeah, back in the day, lots of people did grow gardens, either in their home garden or they had what's called in the UK an allotment garden, which is kind of similar to what I've got going on in my land, but on a bit of a smaller scale. So you'd have, I don't know, maybe a quarter of an acre in a group, like a communal field divided into small plots, and you rented that from the local council. And they used to be really, really popular, and then they kind of died off. But with all of this kind of talk about organic produce, they've become a little bit hip. So you find that the more environmentally friendly, wealthier type people have suddenly taken an interest, and you'll see loads of YouTube channels of people working on their allotment and growing food. Having said that, some of them are, how can I put this politely, for show and to get views on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and not much else. But there are some quite decent garden channels, both in the US and the UK. So if you're one of the 9%, take a little look around on those and see if you can get some more tips and tricks. The third question, or third option, was off-grid utilities, which got 14%. That also surprised me, given some of the more recent events with power outages in various countries, and the fragility of the mains utility grid. We had an instance here in the UK probably about a month ago, I think. There's a electricity cable that comes from France on mainland Europe across to the UK, and that substation caught fire, and I did put a post on YouTube about it. I think it was in the community tab, and I might have mentioned it in the video. because that's 12% of our electric grid supply lost overnight. And whilst we didn't all descend into darkness and chaos, as winter approaches, and I've certainly felt that this last few weeks here, the temperatures are dipping a lot. The electric supply increases exponentially as the weather gets colder. The demand on energy for cooking, heating and lighting increases. So losing 12% of your national capacity is quite a big deal. And there's potential there for brownouts or blackouts, certainly lower levels of supply at peak time as we head into the winter months. So it made the news, as it would, and they came out and said, oh, don't worry about it, it'll all be fixed by October, November. And here we are, heading towards the end of October, and I think it was Dave Smith, I hope I got that right, one of the viewers on the channel popped up a comment on the community page saying, have you seen this news article? And it was a news article talking about this electricity substation and the fire, and how actually it's not going to be back online for a lot longer than they said. Off memory, forgive me if I'm out a little bit on this, but from memory it said something along the lines of, we'll have 50% of that, it'll be half fixed by this time next year, but it won't be fully fixed, 100% operational until 2023. So how does that work out if you've lost 12% of your grid supply just like that overnight? And it's going to take 2 years to fix it. So what if something else happens? A power station, God forbid, goes down. We've had instances of that before, not too long ago here in the UK. How long would it take to fix a complete power station? So yeah, don't believe what they tell you when they say, don't worry, be happy, it'll all be over soon. And we'll touch on that again shortly. So yeah, grid replacement for grid, you know, your portable electrical generators, your solar panels, your propane, butane, LPG gas cookers out of the canisters. A replacement for if your heating or cooking or lighting supply is suddenly cut. I was surprised, only 14% found that useful. The fourth one was long-term emergency food stores. 23% said that they found that useful. That didn't surprise me, that would be one of the higher interest items, particularly given the shortages we saw during COVID and the shortages that we're actually seeing right now. And then the final one, cooking with your preps. This did surprise me, 20% found that useful. I guess it is kind of connected with emergency long-term food stores. So if that's going to be high, then what you're going to do with those things would also be high or equally high. But I don't tend to get many views on the cooking videos I do. So it was a bit of a surprise. Anyway, there we go. That was the results of the poll. If you've got no idea what I'm talking about, then check out the community tab on the YouTube channel. Scroll back through a couple of articles and you'll find it there. It is fairly recent. And if you still want to vote, then vote. I will keep checking on it from time to time just to see how many people are voting and if there's any change in the percentage rates for those different things. But yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for taking the time to actually do a little vote, and thanks for the comments on there. There were quite a few comments saying, well, actually we find it all useful, which is quite nice thing to say, so thanks for that. So, change. Personal life change. I'll only touch on this very briefly. But as we head towards the end of this year, there are a few changes that I'm looking to make. One of them is the channel content and the way that I do videos. Do let me know in the comment section what you think. I'm kind of conscious, and I think I've mentioned it in a few videos, that some of my videos here on the land do kind of drag on quite a bit. You're talking hovering around the hour mark. They did actually stray over the hour mark quite often from time to time through the year, until I realised that it takes me a complete day to upload the video because it's so long and my internet connection is so crappy. So I'm thinking about working the content of the channel to suit the results of the poll. So again, if you haven't put your vote, because I will be using that as a gauge as to what kind of content goes out. I am having a change in job this year. I finish my current job. I've got some holiday days to take, so I'll be finishing around about the 12th of November with a view to starting the new job. Depending on how relaxed I get with my holidays, it might be a week later, it might be 2 weeks later, but certainly in November I'm changing jobs. That will definitely be a little bit chaotic for the first few months. Changes in jobs always are, as you try to settle in and work out whether you did the right thing. Watch this space. But hopefully, fingers crossed, as we go into the new year, that might free up a little bit more time to do short content videos. So you might see, as we head into the new year, a bit of an uptick in number of videos going out per week. Don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for you. Again, let me know in the comment section. Where I live currently, I'm waiting for the market crash. That's the housing market crash. I'm straying now into the latter end of the cabin chat themes. House prices have gone absolutely mental, crazy, all over the world. They've just kept going up and up and up and up and up, completely based on speculation rather than the value, the intrinsic value of the property itself. Lots and lots of corporations and governments, for that matter, have been getting out of the currency markets and the bond markets because, again, they know a crash is coming, and looking for assets, tangible assets to invest their money in. There is another agenda which I'll touch on shortly. So they've been buying into houses. Big corporations have been buying huge amounts of housing with a view to renting those out and having an income stream. Government, likewise, has been buying mortgage debt. So whereas the bank would own the house, governments now are owning the houses. And again, with a view to making money off the back of that. So prices have gone through the roof, and I have always been conscious that I would like somewhere a little bit more rural and remote. Where I live currently is fairly rural, but there are quite a few people around me in fairly close proximity. And it's always been a bit of a longer term ambition to try and find somewhere a bit more remote, just in case, and a little bit closer to the land here as well, rather than having a drive, quite lengthy sometimes, depending on traffic. So again, watch this space as we head into the new year. Depending on what happens with the market, I might actually be going through the process of moving house as well. So lots of change on the personal front. There is one other topic which is quite significant actually, but I'm trying my best not to talk about it right now. All will become clear in future videos, but there's an issue bubbling away in the background that I'm not too happy about, and which will definitely be of interest to you once I break the news, but I'll save that for the future. Still on the theme of change in the big wide world. How many videos have I done now telling you that you need to prepare? There's been an awful lot of change, and it still is changing. And it's all things that will have a medium to long-term impact on every single one of us that watch this channel, or indeed any other prepping channel. And I've talked about things endlessly. I've talked about food supply chain, well, in fact, supply chain per se. Everything that we use on a daily basis, whether it's a cup, whether it's the coffee that goes in the cup, whether it's the things that you eat, whether it's the items that you use when you go to the toilet, take a shower, drive your car, everything that we use on a day-to-day basis is becoming shorter in supply and more expensive to buy. And don't just take my word for it. Look around. The amount of people on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook that are talking about these issues has gone through the roof over the last couple of months. And certainly as we're heading towards winter and the Christmas period, mainstream media now they're almost going into Project Fear mode. Well, they are in Project Fear mode when it comes to turkeys and chickens for the Christmas dinner. But it is a fact. As you look around the supermarket shelves, I'm seeing more and more gaps. I'm seeing less and less choice. I'm seeing bigger prices. If for some reason you're not, I would suggest you take a trip out of wherever it is that you live. Drive half an hour out to another town or city and take a look. Because if you're not seeing this in your day-to-day life, you're very, very lucky, and you live in a very special place. And can we all come live there? Because there are massive issues in supply chain. And all of the big corporations, and indeed government, are saying that this is not going to be a quick fix. It's a bit like inflation, price rising. You'll remember months ago when it started creeping up and gathering pace, everybody came out and said, don't worry, nothing to see here. It's transitory, it's short term, everything will be fine, and business as usual very soon. They've stopped saying that. And now they're saying the opposite. They're saying, well, actually, with all of this stuff that's going on around the world, and it's all China's fault, or it's all Russia's fault, or it's all somebody's fault, never their own fault, it's going to take some time to fix. So we're looking at 2022, 2023 before it gets back to the way it was. And I would suggest to you that it never is going to go back to the way it was. That endless selection of items on the shelf in the supermarket that you've got used to over the last 5-10 years, I don't think that's going to come back. There is another agenda to do with climate change. God, I've mentioned everything now. If this video remains monetized, and I'll be stunned, because I've mentioned everything that you're not supposed to mention, whether it's COVID, government, climate change, or whatever. But that's what I do. That's what the channel's for. It's to tell you about all this stuff and try and get you ready so it doesn't impact you too much. Yeah, I don't think it's going to go back to that endless choice that we had, and the prices certainly aren't going to go back to where they were. Since I've touched on climate change, I'll go there. Climate is changing, but climate goes in cycles, and we have decades of of hot, decades of cold. In some cases we have hundreds of years of hot and cold. There's been more than one ice age back in history. The UK, which is a temperate climate, used to be a tropical climate going back through the ages. So it is cyclical. So yes, climate change does exist. It's called nature. And yes, we do, as people, have an impact on the planet and the climate, both through our natural day-to-day existence, but also more and more from government. Government is definitely tinkering with climate and trying to find some way of managing the climate to suit themselves. There are countries around the world, if you take a look at the Middle East, there are other countries doing it, but this springs to mind. They're seeding the clouds to try and get rain in the desert. So there's an awful lot of stuff going on that is impacting on the climate. It's not just my and your cars that we drive. It's not the cows belching and doing whatever in the field. That's all just smoke mirrors and distraction to try and force an agenda on people. And you can see that very, very clearly now, whether they're telling you to go vegan, don't eat meat, it's destroying the planet. Nonsense, it's not destroying the planet. Some of the production processes for vegan food might be, and processed food might be. And the vehicles you drive, we've all got to go electric now. Get rid of the gas cars, the petrol cars, the diesel cars, and go electric. What's the agenda behind that, do you think? If I do this for a second, is it really climate change? Or are they trying to reduce the number of people that have access to vehicles and keep everybody corralled in the cities? And God forbid you should go out for a drive. You peasant, you're not allowed, you don't earn enough money, you're not important enough to have freedom of movement in your own vehicle or to eat meat or whatever. Let's take this off before I go too far down that rabbit hole. There are agendas behind all of this stuff to do with climate and climate change. So with all of this change going on, it is absolutely going to impact you going forward. The things that we've got used to over the last few decades, the leisure activities, the comfort, the availability of items for you to buy, to live your life, is changing and is reducing in choice and going up in price. And in terms of things like vehicles or the way that you heat your home, they're going to stop you doing that by 2030 in this country. So, as always, the message, I guess, is, are you ready for all of this change and to deal with the new normal? And if you're not, maybe it's a good idea to start thinking about how you can get ready for this new normal. I'll try and put out a few different videos as we go through towards the winter months with this change in my channel. And talk a little bit more about how perhaps you can get prepared, whether that's food availability and price, whether that's personal transportation, whether that's the way that you heat and cook and power your home. So keep an eye out for those. They won't be happening next week, but they will be coming as we go through the next few weeks heading towards the end of this year. Anyway, I think I've done enough now, cabin chatting. There are only a few little jobs that I need to do today here on the land. There's a little bit of tidying up to do. I'll just check quickly on the plants. I've got a bit of greenery for the chickens, and there are a few bits and pieces that I want to take home with a view to doing some video later this week, next week. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, please do stay safe and well. It is the weekend, so make sure that you do get time to kick back, relax, away from work. But don't neglect prepping. Do get out there. Whilst everything is still in the shops, it might be getting a little bit thin on the shelves, and I guarantee you as we head towards December and Christmas, you will see the panic set in. I guarantee it. Whether it's toys for the kids or whether it's food for the Christmas table, you will see some panic. I guarantee that. But just try not to be one of those people that's in a blind state of panic. So let me get this coffee down me. It is going cold, as am I. Might be time to pop some more heat on. Certainly be time for a hot cup of coffee. But do leave me some comments in the comments section on everything that I've discussed and anything else that crops up in your mind from a result of what we do talk about on the channel. Your comments don't just help me, they help other people. And in terms of helping me, I think I did mention it last week, do me a favour, give a few thumbs up or likes on the channel, do pop comments in or reply to comments, play nice, because all of that activity on the channel does help me with YouTube. I would like to get my numbers up, and by getting my numbers up, have YouTube suggest my videos more out in the big wide world, so that other people can benefit from the messages and the content that I put out. And the only way I can really get there is by people like yourselves having a bit of activity on the channel, thumbing up, sharing, liking, commenting. Yeah, do me a favour. Get active on the channel. Anyway, stay safe, stay well, and I'll catch up with you later on. Well, let's have a very, 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 very quick run round. Nothing dramatic. No clue what's happening with these sweet potatoes. I'm going to leave them through to Christmas and see what happens. Not expecting outstanding results. I am from the cabbage though, because they're going absolutely crazy. And we have got a couple of potatoes in this little container. There's that one that I rescued, but I don't know if you'll see it or not on here, but there's some more just peeking through here. So you never know, we might get some extra potatoes. It's all weather dependent. Now it's going on really in the raised beds. They're all topped off with compost for next year. This cold weather is not helping those potatoes I put in. They're looking very, very sorry for themselves. They've definitely been nipped by the weather, and you can see on the fig trees and the blueberries, the leaves are all changing and dropping off. Carrots, loads and loads and loads. I am tempted to pull one of these. I might pull it tomorrow. I don't know, we'll see, but you can see there's some fairly sizable carrots down there. I've been round with the peanut butter and topped up the, let's go this way, topped up those rodent traps. One very good thing, water levels were 950-ish litres in those, and the other ones are full. But I've topped up the little rodent traps with some fresh treats for them. I'm not catching rats at all. I am catching mice, which is not really what I wanted. I wanted the big boys. Chickens are waiting expectantly. They know I've got some greenery. Yeah, so I'm catching mice, but nothing else. No big stuff. I don't know whether they're too smart or whether they've eaten that poison and died. I really don't know. Anyway, let me get the chickens sorted out. It'll soon be time to go. That's the chickens happy. And my little red ones, they're quite happy to take out of my hand. Oi, that's my finger. It's nice to see them all content. I do spoil them. Don't I, little red one? Hmm? They do like this greenery, they really do. You would think they never got fed. Just looking at the camera. Come on, never mind the camera, get the greenery. Right, I'll leave them to it. Well, that's it for today. Short but sweet. Loads of mushrooms floating around. Everywhere I look, there's different kinds of mushrooms. The main field itself is absolutely stacked out with them. If you can see them all strewn across the field, you can certainly see them here. Look at these. They are everywhere. You might remember from last year we had these under all the trees. Loads and loads around here, close to the beehive. Loads of them. Everywhere you look. The bees are conspicuous by their absence. I think it's way too cold for them. There's a single solitary one there, just popped in. It's come back from foraging. I might see how the weather is tomorrow and put that last bit of chemical treatment on there. I don't know what's been at the marigolds, but look at that. Completely demolished. So that's been food for somebody or something. Anyway, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, please do stay safe and well. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll catch up with you in another video. Well, that's it for this video. I hope there was something in there that was of interest to you. If you did like the video, please do click on the like button. Also, feel free to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. As always, welcome any comments, questions or suggestions you might have. What do you think? Is the world changing? You absolutely know it is, don't you? But what are you going to be doing to get ready for that change and be prepared for that change? Let us know in the comments section below. But for now, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.